Our story begins with Don Pedro. He is the Prince of Aragon and a very good friend with Leonardo, the governor of Messina. Don Pedro had been away at war, and so he hadn't seen his friend in a while.
Don Pedro.
Leonardo! Oh, it's good to hear from you, old boy.
I understand you have reason to celebrate.
A true victory indeed. I plan to be with you in a few days.
On hearing this, Leonardo quickly ordered that his house started to prepare for the royal guest. The household went into a frenzy.
What's happening, Father?
This is Hero, Leonardo's only child. She had dark hair and was sweet and innocent.
Don Pedro is coming to stay with his army of men.
Including Lord Claudio, Uncle?
This is Beatrice, Leonardo's niece. She was the opposite of Hero. She was fair-haired with a sharp tongue.
Indeed.
He then left, and the two cousins continued their chatting.
Did you hear that? Claudio's coming. When he was last here, you couldn't stop staring at him.
Beatrice, what are you implying?
I think you're fond of him.
Just like you're fond of Lord Benedict.
Lord Benedict, as if. He must be the most irritating person I have ever come across.
He's actually the male version of you. He's so funny and...
Funny? If humour was food, he'd die of starvation.
Leonardo came back into the room to let them know that their guests had arrived. Then the three of them left to meet them.
Don Pedro, the Prince of Aragon, rode into the courtyard on his horse, followed by Lord Claudio and Lord Benedict. Following them was the prince's half-brother, Don John, and his servant, Baracchio.
Leonardo, how good to see you.
Likewise, Your Majesty. Do you remember my daughter Hero?
My. Well, you've grown even more beautiful and tall since we've been away.
Or is it that we have shrunk by wearing all of that heavy armour?
That's so funny.
Lady Beatrice, I still see you have that acid tongue of yours.
She turned and followed her uncle and the prince into the house.
Hey, Claudio, I pity the fool she ends up marrying.
Look at her.
Beatrice?
No, Hero.
Don Pedro appeared at the door.
Come on, you two. Leonardo has organised a masked ball in our honour. We must change.
Claudio's in love with Hero.
Is this true, Claudio?
Before we went off to war, I didn't notice her. I suppose I was too worried about fighting.
If you ever hear me speak in such a soppy tone, you have permission to fire arrows at me.
Don Pedro ignored Benedict's comments and spoke to Claudio man to man.
I have an idea. Tonight, at this ball, I'll dance with Hero and I'll bring you up in conversation. Then, if she feels the same, I'll ask Leonardo's permission for you to be together.
Thank you.
The masked ball was in full swing.
Push pineapple, shake the tree. Push pineapple, grind coffee. To the left, to the right, jump up and down and to the knees. Come and dance every night, sing with a hula melody.
Watching from afar, and nearby, Benedict and Beatrice were deep in conversation. Although Benedict, he was putting on a strange accent to pretend that he was someone else. But Beatrice knew who he was, but pretended not to.
Won't you tell me your name?
I'm afraid I have been sworn to secrecy.
Secrecy? Why?
To create a sense of mystery.
Annoyance, more like. I can't believe I've managed to avoid Lord Benedict all evening and yet meet someone who I'm not allowed to know anything about.
Why are you avoiding me? Lord Benedict.
Because he's one of the most dullest fools I have ever met. People don't find his jokes funny, they find him funny.
Beatrice walked away smiling to herself, leaving poor Benedict really upset.
One of the dullest fools she's ever met in her entire life? How dare she?
He stopped and thought for a moment.
Why am I so worried about what she thinks of me? I can't stand the woman. Dullest fool.
As this was going on at one end of the hall, at the other end, Don Pedro had found out that Hero actually did like Claudia. And then Leonardo said that if they got together, it would be a perfect match.
What's happening? Oh. Hello, Baraccio. Claudio and Hero are an item.
Come and join the celebrations.
Me. I'm not in the mood.
Shame I cannot make a match out of Beatrice and Benedict.
Your niece? God, I've had my fill of her tonight. Excuse me, I must leave.
They fight like cat and dog, but believe me, there's a spark there somewhere.
What if we were to convince them both that the other one is interested?
How will we do that?
I have a plan.
As the group conspired, Don John's servant Baraccio tiptoed away to tell his master.
My master should be told about this.
Who is it?
It is me. Why didn't you come to the ball? You're missing out on all the gossip.
Watching my brother flouncing around with everybody hanging on to his every word is not my idea of fun. I much prefer to be on my own, plotting the day when I can hurt him and all his friends.
I may be able to help you out, my lord.
Oh?
Lady Hero and Lord Claudio are a couple.
Wonderful news. Oh, how can this hurt him?
Lady Hero's maid, Margaret, has taken a shine to me, my lord. And so...
As the servant whispered into Don John's ear, a sinister look came across his face. The next day, Benedict was alone with his thoughts as he took a stroll through the gardens.
Why does being in love make you crazy? The other day, Claudio was a soldier, fighting brave. Now he's walking around with his head in the clouds. I suppose it would be nice to find a girl. Someone beautiful, wise, funny. But where will I find such a girl?
As he walked further along, he heard Don Pedro, Claudio and Leonardo talking. Their plan to get him and Beatrice together had begun.
So, your niece is in love with Benedict, you say?
Why, he is all she speaks about.
But she speaks to him so horribly.
She's worried that if he finds out that she loves him, he'll make fun of her and break her heart. It's better for her to say nothing.
Maybe one of us should say something to Benedict.
It's best that we stay out of it. If they're meant to be together, love will find a way.
Beatrice loves me.
Meanwhile, Beatrice was about to go in for dinner when she overheard Hero speaking with her maid.
Lord Benedict? He's in love with Lady Beatrice? Never.
It's true. Don Pedro just told me. He asked me to let Beatrice know, but I said I wasn't getting involved.
Why ever not?
If she knew Benedict fancied her, she'd tell everyone and they'd all be laughing. It wouldn't be fair.
True. Still hidden from their view, Beatrice listened and was shocked.
Benedict loves me.
Night fell, and most of the house was asleep, all except Don John. He slipped away from his bed and knocked on his brother's door. Don Pedro answered the door sleepily.
What is it?
Quickly, wake your friend Claudio. I have something to show you.
At this time?
Believe me, he must see this.
Don Pedro quickly followed his brother, stopping for Claudio on the way.
This better be good, Don John.
Claudio and Don Pedro followed Don John, and eventually he stopped and pointed. There stood Hero embracing another man. Claudio quickly turned and marched to Leonato's room. Leonato answered.
I can no longer stay in this house.
What?
Because I've just seen your daughter kiss another man.
I saw it too. We shall leave at once.
Hearing the noise, Hero walked to her father's room.
What's going on?
On hearing all of the accusations, she fainted. Claudio and Don Pedro stepped over her and went to their rooms to get ready to leave. Beatrice informed Benedict of the entire goings-on, and together they carried Hero back to her room.
This sounds like a trick to me.
But why would someone do such a thing to my innocent hero?
I don't know, but we need to play a trick back and then the truth will out. We need to say the shock of all of this has killed Hero. Whoever is to blame will feel so guilty, and then Claudio will see he too has been deceived.
Claudio doesn't deserve Hero.
I can't bear to see you cry, Beatrice. What can I do for you?
Go to Claudio. Tell him that Hero is dead. Then challenge him to a duel.
Don Pedro and Claudio were about to mount their horses when Benedict came storming up to them.
Hero is dead. Happy now, Claudio.
She's dead.
If you did not wish to be with her, why did you tell her you did? Now she is dead because of some lie.
It was no lie. We saw with our own eyes.
Really? Well, I know otherwise. Come here, Borachio.
They all looked over at sheepish-looking Borachio.
I just happened to hear this fool bragging about deceiving you all.
Who else is involved in this?
Don John, he paid me to do it. He left us soon after.
Leonato approached.
And now my daughter is dead because of this stupidity.
How can I ever be forgiven for believing this lie?
No amount of begging will ever bring my daughter back. However, I have a poor relation, and he desperately wants his daughter to marry into money. You will marry her. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a funeral to arrange.
Leonato walked away smiling.
The next day, Claudio stood waiting to meet this poor relation. He was amazed when she arrived, as it was Hero.
But you said Hero was dead.
Hero and Leonato looked at each other.
I'm so sorry I ever doubted you, Hero.
And so, we shall celebrate this good news. Raise your glasses to Hero and Claudio. Cheers.
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 Now, what about my niece?
Actually, Uncle, Benedict asked me to marry him last night, and I said yes.
Ooh, Benedict. Shall I stand you next to the archery target?
It's too late, Leonato. Cupid has already fired his arrow straight into my heart.